So seeing as how City of the Wolves just dropped, we're gonna, spice things up a little bit and go over 3 things you might not know about City of the Wolves as of right now. It's generally things that I'm sure you came across either playing the beta or you're completely new to the game. Either way, it will help you learn the process, okay? Now with that being said, so when it comes to this game, there's a mode that you can get into known as SPG. Right, and at a certain point you can have access to a rev blow. Now these are very moves that can be very annoying for a lot of people to deal with, namely because they have armor on them, and if you press into them to haphazardly, you can actually get full combo punished off of it. For those who are Street Fighter oriented, it's very similar to DI. Now, normally the answer to this is to use SPG of your own, but the thing is that what if you lost health a little bit earlier on and you don't have access to SPG? There is an option that you have available to you as well, and that would be using this this move here, right? So you use your crouching heavy punch plus your rev button in order to get this input, right? That way we can blow up the move if we see it happen, and we can essentially stop him from going for an option like this and also get a whole punish off of it, right? The key point is, while the damage is not the greatest, the whole point of it is at least being able to stop it outside of having SPG of your own. So keeping this in mind. The other thing that I want to go into, because it has to do with a similar function of this, is when your opponent, you kind of know that your opponent is going for quite a few lows, and you want to catch them a little bit off guard, right? So another option that you have available to you is if you catch them like this, you can get a whole route off of it, right? So this is another one of your evade options, where you can get a whole route off of it simply by making an educated, let's call it making an educated guess on whether or not they're gonna go for an option like a low, right? This happens, this can occur on these situations as well, right? If we notice the fact that they're like a lot of the time, sometimes they might wake up with to be here, right? If they wake up with to be here, then they're in a situation where they're like, okay, I'm just gonna try and to be out of this situation. If I'm successful, I get the route, whatever, woo. But if I'm not putting anything at risk. The more important part is that it's a low, and it'll catch your feet lacking if you try to walk back on a situation you're too close to the opponent, right? So in order to blow this up, we can use this option here and get the exact same value, right? You being able to use this mechanic a little bit more often is going to help you improve in this game, especially because when you know that your opponent is going to go for a low, you have an option to blow it up. Same thing if your opponent is going for the rev blow option. Okay, so another situation, very common situation, is you get knocked down for whatever reason and you're trying to just defend, or you don't even know what just defend is, you're just kind of blocking out the situation. Obviously, like, we can go for like a DP situation here, right? Or anything like that, or like a super, right? Obviously we can spread that option, but what other options do you have available to you? You also have the just defend option. I know a lot of you end up just doing something like this and then just end up blocking the situation, and you might get just defend, but you never do anything with it. So what you can do in these situations is, if you do get a successful just defend, you can get a special move cancel afterwards, right? And this is important. Why? Because it'll allow you to get certain punishes. So if you implement this into your game, you can potentially implement something like this, right? Where you can get a whole punish just because they tried to go for a meaty option on you, right? So what am I doing in this instance? What is happening is that when I get knocked down, I'm attacking forward and then half circle forward. Now this may be a little bit of a task, but you should definitely practice it, because if you get it successfully, you can turn the tides on its head. So what I'm doing earlier on, right, while I'm waking up, I'm tapping forward early and then a half circle forward input afterwards. So what this does is that essentially buffers, because for a DP input is forward down forward, right? We got this down, right? In order to get the DP as early as possible, what we're going to do is we're going to tap forward early and then put in the quarter circle forward afterwards. So that's why we do a half circle forward input. We do a half circle, the back is for the chest defend, and the quarter circle forward is for the rest of the DP. We tap forward, and then we get the rest of it. Now you want to make sure that you're tapping your break, your rev so you can get a break afterwards, and then you can get a whole route. Or in the case that you want to cash out, you can also cash out as well, right?
If you're not unbreakable, you must have a weak point.
Say your prayers.
Now, some might think, oh, it's not a lot of damage, but yes, which is granted. However, it does give you the ability to blow up your opponent, especially when they only have like 30% left and you have 2 bars of meter to access as well. It's a good thing to have on hand, and it also simultaneously makes your opponent have to think a little bit more when going for their pressure sequence upon you, because they're like, oh shoot, he knows how to just defend. So then in these cases, I don't want to get blown up for trying to go for a meaty situation. This is something to keep in mind. Now the last thing is a little bit more specific to about, I don't know, half the cast, give or take. This last tip is more specific to those who have a dash instead of a run. There are characters who have runs in which they essentially press the dash input once and then it has them running the entire time, right? And then there are characters who have to dash the entire time. Now, this is something that is very cool, and honestly, it makes me believe that dashing characters are a little bit better when it comes to movement than running characters. But let's get into it. So the whole idea is that number one is that with the dashes, it can feel a little bit clunky and interruptible when you do it like this. But if you press your rev button and you press forward, and I'm just holding forward, you get dashes, okay? The other thing to note is that if you happen to press crouch, or you can act immediately after the dash. If you look at my feet right now, the dust is indicating that I'm dashing, but I'm not actually going that far because I'm canceling it almost instantaneously, right? So you have the ability to cancel into another action. So what can we do with this? So if we, like that, if we go for an option like this, you can essentially get what we call wave dashing in the fighting game community. You can get very quick dashes and you can make them very short, and makes it a lot harder to interrupt because going like this is a lot easier for your opponent to try and check you with the normal. However, if you go for something like this, it's a lot harder because it's a lot quicker and a lot harder to see, right? This is also important because when you get into situations like this and you want to close the distance very quickly, it'll also help you facilitate that option as well. So it's good to have better options. The last thing that I'll say is that off of this throw instance, you can also add the dash to your throw as well, giving it a little extra range as well. Once again, you want to look at my feet. You see how there is dust compiling? That is the indication that you're going for a dash, right? Otherwise, it looks like this. However, if you're adding a little bit of range to it, see how you can use the dash to add a little bit of extra range while making it still difficult for your opponent to guess on what you're trying to do. These are the sorts of things that the game has a lot of depth to it. I'm definitely going to be looking to do a little bit more of these things. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you do enjoy the Fatal Fury content. I'll also still be doing Street Fighter as per usual, but I do like Fatal Fury, so I'm going to slide in some more content. With that being said, any questions?